Here he is, former Vancouver Canuck, TSN hockey analyst, the one and only Mr. Frank Corrado. How we doing, Frankie?
Excellent. How you guys doing?
Very well. Very well.
Back from a destination wedding where we were singing Sweet Caroline at the top of our lungs, and not caring who heard us.
As you probably shouldn't care who heard you, because there's no way you guys were in tune.
Yes. Hopefully few people heard you.
You were telling us you had a no-go list with the wedding DJ and Sweet Caroline.
Yeah, so we had our wedding reception last year, and the first thing, the DJ asks you, what do you want to hear? We said, no, this is what we don't want to hear, and Sweet Caroline was on there. I think we put Don't Stop Believin' by Journey was on there.
Of course. Yeah.
You Shook Me All Night Long. We're not doing it. We're not doing it, so...
A no cliche song wedding. That's what you wanted. Yes, no cliches.
Yeah. Well, we still had a good time.
Bon Jovi? Was Bon Jovi on the list?
Bon Jovi, see, in my neck of the woods, Bon Jovi really gets the people going. It really gets the people going here. At one point, I don't know if it's up there anymore, but when Scotiabank Arena was called the Air Canada Centre, they had a banner for Bon Jovi in the arena. So they had Leafs Stanley Cups, Leafs retired numbers, Raptors championships, and Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi is not from here. He's from New Jersey.
No.
Why did we ever have a banner recognizing Bon Jovi? It's not Billy Joel.
Record sellouts. It was record sellouts at the arena, I believe, is why they put it out there. Because Bon Jovi sells out the joint.
It was Bon Jovi was buddies with Tim Leiweke, and they were going to bid for an NFL team, and he said, I'll do you solid.
But that was the guise. That was under the guise of, I believe, record sellouts. So they had to find a reason to put it up there at the very least. So, anyway.
Yeah, I have the, as you know, the Triumph the Insult comic dog opinion of Bon Jovi. All right, Frank, let's move on. A surprise Final Four here in the National Hockey League. Who you like?
Yeah, you know what? I've struggled with this because every time I think I kind of know where this is going to go as far as who's going to win a series, I have no idea. I will say this. I have not given the Vegas Golden Knights enough credit throughout the playoffs. I thought they would beat Winnipeg. I thought Winnipeg would put up more of a fight. But I thought for sure Edmonton was going to be. I thought Edmonton was going to dummy them. Just came down to the fact that I thought those two guys in Draisaitl and McDavid were they couldn't be stopped. And ultimately, there were other factors at play there, like their depth scoring wasn't what it was during the regular season. And when Ryan Nugent-Hopkins doesn't have a playoffs that lived up to a 104-point regular season, and a Vander Kane who was, he had 13 goals in the playoffs last year, he struggles to get going. As much as Draisaitl and McDavid were really good, you really do need a complete team, and that's what I see when I see Vegas, regardless of who's in net for them. If it's Brossoit or it's Aiden Hill, it's that's a complete team from top to finish. If I was building a decor, I would want to build it exactly the way Vegas does. They just have the right amount of every single element on that team, whether it's the skating and the puck moving, but there's some guys with some range and some size who play a little bit of a nasty game. They've really built it well there. The other thing they have going for them is they don't overextend everyone. All their forwards play, and they play significant roles, and they're fresh throughout the game. And now we're getting to the point in these playoffs where that wear and tear, you're starting to see that come to the forefront here. Who's the healthier team? Who's the more fresh team? So I do think Vegas gets past Dallas. I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas wins, but that's a series for me that should go 7 games, and that should be, a pretty entertaining one. As far as the East goes, Carolina and Florida will be interesting because Florida plays a style of hockey where you're under a lot of pressure. Carolina plays a similar style of game, and offensively, both those teams are pretty simple. It's not like the Leafs where it's a little more intricate, how they try and play offense, how they try to generate. Everything has to be kind of pretty and tape to tape. Both these teams are very simple. Get the puck to the point, get bodies there, and both teams try and attack the net that way. So it feels like this will be a series where who's going to get the goaltending? Is Bobrovsky going to keep up what he's done? It seems like at some point he's due for an adjustment back to the mean for what he usually is. And Carolina's got some question marks. I mean, Freddie Anderson's a really good goalie, but when he's healthy, and how long does he stay healthy? So as much as you can say Sergei Bobrovsky might be due for a coming back down to earth moment, is Freddie Anderson due to get hurt again? Is Antti Ranta able to stay healthy? Like, do they have to go to this kid Kochetkov? It is intriguing for me, but ultimately I think Carolina wins that series, and I think that one goes 6 or 7 as well. And then, I mean, once you get to the Stanley Cup Finals, take your pick. But Carolina seems to be a really good team.
I got a couple of follow-ups. Number one, when Vegas came through here late in the season, Rick Tocchet went on, quite a soliloquy there about how much he admired the VGK defense and talking about how big and mobile they are. I would note that the 3 Norris Trophy finalists, I believe one is 6 foot and 2 are under 6 foot. We had that movement towards the smaller defenseman, Frankie, where we weren't discriminating against him.
Torrey Krug's of the world.
Right,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah. We're giving them a lot of money because their ability to move the puck, skate the puck out of danger, make that fantastic pass, either exiting the zone or in zone. Where are you on big defensemen? Do you need big defensemen to win the Stanley Cup, or the composition of 6 defense? How many small guys would you be willing to live with on a championship defense?
Probably
score?
one. Like, honestly, like 1, maybe 2. And it's just different when you see how, like, the ice kind of shrinks up on you in the playoffs. Well, the reason why it shrinks up is because some of these guys, like, they're long, they have range, they're able to close on you, and they're able to get away with a little bit more in the playoffs. Like, if a guy like, okay, take this for example, Mark Stahl, older defenseman, he's pretty slow, but he's on a Florida Panthers team that's in the conference finals, and yeah, he's not much with the puck, but man, like down low below the goal lines, like he kind of swallows you up, and it's like he holds on to you a little bit longer. He's not a Picasso by any stretch of the imagination, but at this point in the season, like, it's an effective player for them. I'm not saying you need to have a decor built like that of aging guys who don't move so well anymore, but when I look at Vegas and the blue line that they've built, they have big guys that are mobile, who can move really well, and I think that's the enticing thing. I know we always talk about puck moving and how important that is, and to break it out. And there's some smaller defensemen in the league. One plays in Vancouver who is exceptional at that. Exactly. The elusiveness, his ability to transition the puck. It's all great. If you can find someone that can do that, maybe not to the degree that Quinn Hughes can, because he's in that upper echelon in the league. But if you find a group of 6 that can do that, I don't know, at 75, 80% completion rate compared to someone like Quinn Hughes, plus they give you a little bit of nastiness down low in front of the net and the ability to move guys out and box out. Like that's a nice little package there. So I'm not talking about like lumbering tree trunk guys that can't get around. Like, you can't have a whole decor built with that either. It's about having different elements, different complements. So, if you look at Florida, you have your puck mover in Montour, and a lot of things go through him. Aaron Ekblad is probably playing through something right now. Like, he didn't look great in the Toronto series. Like, you didn't notice Ekblad and be like, there's another breakout pass, there's another smart play by him. But bigger guy, finds a way to get it done in the defensive zone. So you start looking at the way these decors are built, and it's like every team has that one guy on their core, like a Miro Heiskanen. Like, there's your guy in Dallas who's your puck mover, your smooth player, but you build around that, and there's some bigger guys that can kind of do a job down low, and we're seeing teams that are just well built right now.
You're starting to have your cake and eat it too, though, right? I mean, it's sort of like the 7-foot player in the NBA. Before, you could only have one up there because they were so plotting. Now, the Wembanyamas and Tantacupos of the world, you can have as many of those guys on the floor as you want. And now you're getting 6'4", 6'5" defensemen in the NHL who skate like the wind, and they've got the size. I mean, they're not dime a dozen, but there's more and more, it seems, every year that are possibilities here for the National Hockey League.
And that's the crazy thing. Like, that's what it really stuck out to me when I was playing in the league. Like, I was 6'1", 195 pounds, and I always thought I was pretty fast, pretty feet of foot. Like, my agent always used to say to me, your feet are your money makers, so make sure they're moving at all times. And when I got to the league, I'm like, man, there's guys here like that are 6'4", 6'3", 210. They move just as fast as me, if not faster. And so, like, what's my advantage over those guys? Really nothing, because those guys are able to do things with a little more ease that I'm not able to do. Like if I needed to get into a confrontation in a corner with a guy that was bigger than me and maybe had 15 pounds and a couple inches on me, it took a lot out of me. Like for me to win that battle took a lot. Whereas those guys, they have a little more of a margin for error in those kinds of confrontations. So, even if someone gets a step on, it's like, oh, where are you going? Like, I got you here again, and now I'm going to pin you in. And, oh, I need to stay on the ice for another 30 seconds because the puck is in our zone. Well, I didn't exert that much there because I'm just kind of built a certain way that lends itself to being able to have that advantage in the D zone. And you know what? I think that's one of the things, looking back at Toronto's series, that really sticks out. Like there were a number of players that wanted to elevate their game maybe and do a little bit more. And the Tampa series kind of took it out of them. And when you get into the Florida series, you start seeing, man, like these guys, they're either hurt or they're tired or something's going on, because it's like the wheels really started to fall off. And it's almost like it's unsustainable for certain kind of like body types and frames to have to do that, every other night, playing against players that are just bigger and stronger than them.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, Frank, and you brought it up there with regards to Carolina and Florida, who play a more simplistic style, a hard forecheck, then get the puck to the net and get traffic and try and get those ugly goals. I'll remind everyone that last year we had a Stanley Cup champion that scored absolutely beautiful goals, right? Yeah. In Colorado. East-west, get the goaltender moving, big old shots. And I sort of wondered, okay, has skill finally arrived in the Stanley Cup playoffs to the point where you can play that way, score those beautiful goals, and still make it through 4 rounds? Because Colorado made it look pretty easy. What do you think going forward? Is the Colorado method, the Colorado formula, the high skill game, or would you cast your lot with the way Florida and Carolina play, which is a little less graceful, but has been very effective in the Stanley Cup playoffs over history?
I love the skill game. Don't get me wrong. And watching Colorado last year, they were just so fast that they were able to actually create some separation for their skilled players. And that's where the difference lies for me. Like if you're going to have skilled guys, there needs to be something that separates them from what the opposition is trying to do. And obviously that's shutting them down. And you guys watched it last year with Colorado. How many times did you see Makar flying up the ice or McKinnon? And it just felt like they attacked the game with so much speed and so much ferocity that it was like there was still the skill element with that tenacious kind of like go get it attitude that we see out of this Carolina, this Florida team. And, watching Carolina and Florida get to the point where they are now, they're not teams that play with the puck very much. Like Carolina, they're not going to have the puck on their stick very much. And Florida it plays in a similar way, because what they do is as soon as they force a turnover, it's like that puck needs to get funneled in and around the front of the net like very quickly. There's no perimeter time for them. So it is a different style of game. But when you kind of break it down and look at both, okay, Colorado last year, Florida and Carolina this year, one thing remains true. There was an emphasis on point A to point B as quickly as humanly possible, and point B being the front of the net. Whether it was you're going to skate it there with your high-flying skill, or it's like the way Carolina and Florida are going to do it, where it's like, send it to the point, it's coming down to the net, and we're all crashing, and we're just going to reload and do that again. So it's different styles, but ultimately the result is the same. And we've seen it in the playoffs where teams who maybe have the puck a little bit more, but it stays on the outside and it doesn't funnel there, and it's not as direct, they're the teams that are having a hard time scoring at 5-on-5.
Back-to-back 100-point seasons for Matthew Tkachuk. He's not the most skilled player in the league. He wouldn't even be top 3, I don't think, for me, despite the 100-point seasons. But if he wins a cup this year, and he might be this anyway, is he really the face of the league? Like Connor McDavid without a cup, that feistiness, that charismatic attitude, and a 100-point player per season with a cup, is he the face of the league, Matthew Tkachuk?
Not for me. No. For me, it's still Connor McDavid. I think he's the most marketable player because no one can do what he can do on skates. We've never seen a player be able to do what this guy's able to do. And if you just want to pull out a little McDavid highlight reel and play it on a loop, It's like you can sit there and watch and go, man, like no one's ever done this kind of stuff. So as much as Tkachuk has a great opportunity here to win a Stanley Cup and, back-to-back 100-point seasons and, is a Hart finalist, all that kind of stuff, you're not going to replace McDavid as being the face of the league because he just is so dominant. He really is. Regardless of where his team ended up in the playoffs, for me, he's the face. He's, as our quiz master at TSN likes to say, he's the most evolved player of all time. And the crazy thing for me is like he keeps evolving. Like he didn't have like this goal scoring prowess before, but now he shows up this year and it's like this guy's a goal scorer and he could score in so many different ways. So I think that's the scary thing when it comes to McDavid. He's the most evolved player. He keeps evolving. He does things that we really haven't seen on a night-to-night basis in this league. He still is the face of the league, but you could make an argument that in the United States, Matthew Tkachuk, if he wins a cup, playing in a market like Florida, where we know how Gary Bettman likes to prop up those smaller markets in the States as much as he can, that's maybe your face of Southern hockey or like your flavor of right now, if you were able to do that. But Connor McDavid is still the face of the NHL.
Great stuff here today, Frankie. Good times. Good times.
Sweet
Never
Caroline,
felt so good, buddy.
Let it roll.
All right. You're away next Thursday, if I'm not. No, you're with us next Thursday. You're away a couple, 3. Marvelous stuff. We'll
Thanks,
talk then.
guys.